you, Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith, good morning.
Good morning.
He has that big baritone voice and usually gets everybody's attention when he answers back. I'm Bill Carver, president of Nash Community College. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to always have visitors on campus. We especially like to have visitors from Raleigh. It seems like we're always driving up to Raleigh. And so we like to reciprocate today when we have some Raleigh people visit us. I know that you will find this area to be very interesting, as I think it's as interesting as the RTP, but I'm biased. And you'll see that on the tour. We have some things that support our industries that are going on here that are unique at what I call the little crossroads community college. It just happens to be on I-95 and 64. And we are humbled to have visitors on our campus, especially important visitors. And I know that I'll try not to talk too much because we may still be a little tired from the turkey and overloading on pecan pie and whatever you had this weekend as we pause to give thanks. And in this area, we give thanks quite often. We have some county commissioners in the room, so I need to give thanks to them for this campus. County manager's here. He is our pocketbook, and we have some other people. And I think I saw a board member or two in the room, so they're my bosses. And so I'd like to give thanks to all of those individuals. We also have several friends here who are visiting with us. One of which is the mayor, and so I'm warming up the mic for him. And it gives me, again, a great deal of pleasure to invite you. You're going to see a couple of unique things that we're doing in the community college system is changing. We're changing how we serve our students. We're experimenting. You'll see a little bit of that with the math tank. You're going to see the finest mechatronics lab this side of Charlotte, because they have one similar at CPCC. And we like to think that, we have a mechatronics lab that Wake Tech doesn't have. Now they just got $200 million, so I'm sure they'll have it soon. But we like to think we're a little ahead of the curve, and John Gessaman already knows what we do for industry. So again, welcome to Nash Community College. Thank you for being here today, this beautiful weather, and on our campus we have a chance to show off. Thank you for including us on your tour, so we had that opportunity. Mayor, I understand you're next to the mic.
Thank you, Bill, and again, I want to wish y'all thank you for being in Rocky Mountain today. I think I get this to stay up there. First, I want to thank Nash Community College. They're really a true asset in our community here in Rocky Mountain. They partner with the city on a lot of different initiatives, and we're just grateful that they're here in Rocky Mountain. We're very unique that we're probably the only city in North Carolina that has two community colleges in our city. Nash Community College and then Edgecombe Community College has a campus in Rocky Mountain as well, so we're very fortunate to have that. Pat, I kind of make a comment about your red shoes. Now, there was another pretty lady here that had on a really nice red coat, and those shoes would go great with that coat. So, I apologize, I got a little frog in my throat. I don't know that it was yelling at football or playing with my grandchildren over the weekend, but it was a great weekend, and I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. When I heard or saw the news conference that you had up in Raleigh about these, and I'm going to just share it, it's at reimagine.com or reimaginenc.com. It's a re-imaging of the Triangle Park, and when I look at that, you do look across the country now, people, particularly in Raleigh with the traffic and things like that, want to live, work, and shop near where we're all together, so they're not spending all their time driving back and forth. And having somebody that has meetings in Raleigh or different places from time to time, I do have to plan when I go to Raleigh because of the drive time, depending on what time you go. So it makes a lot of sense to do what you're doing, and probably smaller is better in today's world than maybe it used to be when the Triangle Park was originally started. But when you look at that, we are also embarking on a visioning process in the Twin County area, Nash County, Edgecombe County, and Rocky Mountain. Have been in the process for about 12 months now with a visioning process that we've had outside consultants helping us with. And we're not going to do a bus tour, we're trying to figure out what was going on but we've had roundtable discussions throughout both counties and the city of Rocky Mount to figure out, we know where we are. Dr. Johnson up at Keenan School of Business helped us with that piece. We're trying to figure out where we want to go and then decide how we're going to get there. So we've been going through a similar process here in the Rocky Mount, Nash, and Edgecombe area. I would like to make one comment, and we are an area that continues to grow, and I got a letter from the Department of Commerce a couple of weeks ago that we just passed $1 billion in exports out of this Twin County area, in our metro area here in the Rocky Mountain, Nash, and Edgecombe area, which is significant because I don't think a lot of people think of us as an area that exports a lot, but we do have some major industries here. Cummins Diesel, we have Poppy's International Company that makes profiteroles. We have Honeywell makes high-tech parts here in Rocky Mount, Draca Elevator, but a number of companies that ship worldwide. In addition to that, we're still probably one of the, I know Nash County is probably the 10th largest in agriculture in North Carolina. If you combine the two counties, after a metro area, we're probably in the top 5 in terms of agricultural production in North Carolina. So a lot of that, and I see Lisa Barnes, their family ships a huge amount of sweet potatoes all over the world. So we're still an area that is growing, but we need help. And one of the things that I read here, it says, what great thing can we do for North Carolina? And I'm going to be a little selfish this morning because I'm going to talk about Eastern North Carolina and what you can do. Because I think a lot of emphasis has been placed on that Piedmont Crescent area in North Carolina. That area is having a tremendous amount of success. But at times, and this is just a general feeling at times, is that Eastern North Carolina kind of gets forgotten. We're forgotten in that process from time to time. So as a mayor and being, focused on Eastern North Carolina, particularly Rocky Mount, but anywhere in Eastern North Carolina, we want to find out what can we do to partner with you to grow our area, to bring business to our area. We think it's great that you're growing, but we want people to live here in our community, and it'd be great if they drove back and forth. It's a great highway now, so it makes it very easy to get to Raleigh and to Triangle Park these days. But it is something that we want to do. We want to create partnerships, and that is the way that we're growing. That's why the two counties are partnering together to do what we're doing in our area right now today. But it is something that we commend you to get out on the road and find out what people want, what they need. But we also need help from you going into this process. And you came to a great place to do it. Nash Community College is, like I said, a partner in a lot of different ways, not only with the city, but certainly with what was Progress Energy, now it's Duke Energy, training linemen, and other things that we do in our community. So I want to thank you all for being here today. It is something that I think is important. If we're going to grow as a state, we all have to work together to be successful, because no matter where you travel these days, it's a competitive environment, it's a global environment, and we all have to do our part if we want to be successful in our particular area. So thank you for being in Rocky Mount. Let us know what we can do to help you, and certainly we look forward to working with you in the future.
Good morning. And again, welcome to the Twin County area. I'm John Gessaman, President and CEO of the Carolinas Gateway Partnership, and we are the local economic development agency for the Twin County area, which is Nash and Edgecombe and Rocky Mountain metropolitan area. Our website, by the way, is www.econdev.org, and I wanted to note John Chafee's presence. We're also part of the Eastern region. John is the president of the Eastern Region Partnership. Just to give you a little bit of idea about the geography here, Twin County area, of course, consists of Nash and Edgecombe. We are a metropolitan area. We considered a small metropolitan area designated by the OMB and Census Bureau of about 152,000 people, 96,000 about in Nash County, and then 56,000 in Edgecombe County. And as you can see, Rocky Mount is the largest city, and the county line runs right down the middle of Main Street, if you're not familiar with that. The largest portion of that population is 56,000, which is the city of Rocky Mount, lies in Nash, with the remainder in Edgecombe County. And I thought what I'd do is maybe not just so much give a little bit of update, since I had the podium here, maybe give some thought-provoking kinds of ideas that we can provide for some discussion points as you go through a pretty interesting time, in my opinion. And I'm particularly honored to be here because the RTP is an icon for us all. When we go around, I had a little conversation with Teresa Pinto in the chamber. A lot of times people will ask me, "You're in North Carolina, how close are you to the RTP?" You know, we of course say 45 minutes, but of course it depends on what you consider the RTP. Is it the region? Is it the park? What is it? Maybe we're only 3 miles from it when we get to the end of Nash County and go through a little bit of Franklin, and we're right there. So it depends on our perspective. We might just be 3 miles or 45 minutes, depending on where you are in the Twin County region. But I wanted to talk for a minute, not so much about economic development initiatives, but just to give you a flavor of the Twin County region. It is marked by partnerships. We happen to be one. I'm very, very proud to represent the Twin County as the economic development agency here, but also libraries. We have the Down East Partnership for Children, which talks about, does a lot of great things, and we could go through a long list of Twin County partnerships. And it's a testament to the local government leadership that we have in this area, that we all get together and rally around things that need to be done, and that's really kind of the history of our area. Also wanted to note recently voter-approved expansions at this community college. It's building going on right now, just finished a nice culinary portion of the community college, but we're going to be adding on also to Nash Community College for a voter-approved referendum. And there was also a voter-approved referendum in Edgecombe Community College to take on some healthcare assignments there. So I think that says a lot in this day and time when you can pull that lever for or against spending money, and our voters pull it for. And I think that says a lot about the interest of the voters, the interest of the citizens in moving forward in education, and they see that as a direct tie to economic development. Also wanted to know Marilyn Anselmi, who is here at the Gateway Technology Center, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go through here, but that too is a partnership with Nash County and the City of Rocky Mount to bring advanced education and learning to our Twin County area. And the mayor mentioned the Twin County Visioning Project, and I'll spend a minute on that as I go through here, but also wanted to point out the Springboard NC Inc., which is a great entrepreneurial initiative begun by investors and entrepreneurs right here in the Twin County region to bring together capital and try to encourage private sector growth. And I think some would argue that's the way you get growth, is through the formation of new firms. So talk for a minute about that as you go through here. Thank you. The Twin County Visioning Project, which is a pretty sweeping effort, big project, it's taking years really to go through this, but it grew out of concern about some key issues and what many of us feel are persistent misperceptions of our area. It's a broad sweeping initiative, and it should be complete in spring of 2013. So when you get back here in spring, we'll have a lot more to say about that. So far, the effort is focused on some challenge areas, and I guess these will be ultimately listed as goals. First, job creation. Who isn't concerned about that in our area? I don't think that's particular to our area, but that is the top one. But then talent recruitment comes up, and I think that's something you see across the country as well, and here we are here. Education, image of the region, very important for us. The quality of life for disadvantaged populations came up to the top of those concerns. And then crime prevention, healthy lifestyles. You can't take a tour through Eastern North Carolina and note that there are a lot of concerns about health and welfare. Some of those statistics don't look so good in our various areas. And then lastly, aligning regional leadership, which I think has to do with just trying to make sure our leaders are all on board for the goal areas that we end up with. So the vision statement has been proposed. It hasn't been adopted yet, but it is a good one and a simple one. The Twin Counties region, it is a thriving crossroads of innovation. And we'll come back to that word a little bit, where the broad talents and experiences of our many communities foster shared opportunities for educational achievement, economic success, healthy families, and welcoming neighborhoods. So the key next steps in this process will be to engage the community and developing and then action steps. How are we going to achieve this vision for the goal area? So this isn't just a study on the shelf. I don't think anybody wants that to happen. And I list here some key areas for economic development. I thought about calling them challenges, issues, whatever, but let's just keep them at areas, and maybe there's food for thought. The Research Triangle Park is not the same as the Research Triangle, I know that, but we're not going to talk about that. We'll just lump you into the big broad category of the Research Triangle. But the park is, you've got a huge responsibility because it is the icon, the standard bearer. It's internationally known. It's a brand driving an entire region's economy. And I think the thing that's come up, Teresa and I talked a little bit about this, can we create corridors of innovation from that Research Triangle? I think that's what everybody wants. You'll hear that probably a lot as you go through the state. And how can we all benefit from that? And I want to say that conversely, unless the Research Triangle Park is a success, we don't have that brand. So it's real important to all of us, not to put too much pressure on y'all, but our airport is there. We go to RDU by and large, and thankfully we got 540 and the Nightingale bypass, so we can say to our clients that come in, we have really good transportation internationally, et cetera. The clusters of innovation study by the Council on Competitiveness, and I know you know that, the Michael Porter study, his conclusion was to think economic area rather than metropolitan area, and probably we all think about that, just like we think about county lines, city lines, but companies don't think that way. Companies aren't thinking about the Raleigh metropolitan area or even the Rocky Mountain metropolitan area. They're thinking about how we get back and forth, and I'll come back to that in a minute, because we know there's trading, a lot of trading between our metropolitan regions. But what is the region exactly, and how does the park interact with it? That's not a question I can answer today. I hope you do answer that, because it's very important to us. We need to be aligned with you all in summary. Our industries are extensions of some of the RTP clusters. Our largest single private sector manufacturer is Hospira with 2,500, 2,900 employees. It's there a lot because the Research Triangle region exists, and maybe because the Research Triangle Park exists too. Advanced manufacturing, you're going to take a tour of one of the state-of-the-art advanced manufacturing labs right here in Nash Community College, as Bill remarked. And you could extend this idea of advanced manufacturing not just to Hospira, Cummins, diesel engine. We have in Edgecombe County a maker of the electronic engine control units that go into all the Hondas. If you have them, you've got one that was made right here, and they work all the time. But we have other industries that are growing in our area. Food processing is one of the largest growth industries. Distribution, logistics, back office operations, which exist really because of the Triangle region. They're here in banking and in distribution. And the Rocky Mountain SA and Nash and Edgecombe is closely linked to the Research Triangle Park and has an enormous interest in its success and vice versa. And I went back and looked at some of the commuting data, and this shows where our residents work in Nash and Edgecombe County. And sadly, the most recent we have is 2000, because the 2010 numbers haven't come out yet. I guess it takes a long time for those guys to crunch those numbers, but we'll have them, and I think it's going to be interesting to put those numbers beside this one. But in a nutshell, what this says is that in 2000, of all the people living in Nash County, 26,000 about worked in Nash County, which is pretty good for our region. In other words, we got a lot of people that live here, they work here. In Edgecombe County, then secondly, they work in Edgecombe County. And in Edgecombe County, most of those people work in Edgecombe County. Secondly, they commute to Nash County across the line. To a lesser extent, they go into Wilson, with the major employers there, Bridgetown probably one of the leading ones. And then Wake, though, comes up, so that maybe half of the 5,000 people, if there is commuting to Wake. And if you came over 64, which you did, you saw a lot of traffic this morning going back and forth. I'm thinking this number has increased greatly. And if we were to take Wake, I think we'd see a lot of those folks coming into Nash County as well, and to a lesser extent, Pitt County. So extending the benefits of the Research Triangle is absolutely vital to us. We need to help you, whatever you need us to do to make sure that the park itself is healthy going forward. And what we used to sell in this area was price. I think we still probably are selling price, but you know where we need to be is selling innovation. In my opinion, that is absolutely the most important thing going forward. And can we imagine a corridor of innovation extending through our area? We need to support the creation of an interstate corridor from Raleigh to Norfolk through Rocky Mount and Elizabeth City. You may hear about that later today, but what is proposed is a new Interstate 44 corridor that would really, this is Raleigh driving this mostly, to connect it to the deepwater port of Norfolk. And when I say not mostly Raleigh, it's all of us that needs this, because can you imagine an interstate corridor extending from Raleigh all the way to Norfolk, going through northeastern North Carolina, arguably some of the poorest areas on the East Coast, what that would do to that area would be phenomenal. And possibly that's the corridor of innovation. We don't want to take away from other corridors, but possibly that parallels that. We need support and link to local entrepreneurial efforts. I think some of the best entrepreneurial efforts, the two-edged sword for us is that probably the best entrepreneurial efforts exist in the Research Triangle Park. So anything that compares to that is probably going to have a challenge to doing it, but what a great thing that we can compare to that. And hopefully our efforts will measure up as well. We need support and link to the local area to our major research universities. If we're going to be an innovation corridor, we need to have the research universities on board. And we've begun that effort thanks to the Nash County City Rocky Mount coming together and developing something called the Gateway Technology Center. We already have a presence of North Carolina State University and East Carolina University, and we have graduate courses from Fayetteville State for MBA, but that probably needs to be broadened. And I think it is our future really is how can we bring to bear through the community colleges. We have our own private North Carolina Wesleyan College, which is part of that unique partnership. But how can we improve upon that, I think, is a real critical piece to the long-term future of our area. And then, as you know, and I think one of the things that you highlighted and maybe some of the planning that you're going through is how do you develop a lifestyle environment for the talent recruitment. It isn't good enough to have a great business climate, et cetera. As it turns out, we got to have a great environment for these talented people to go to. And I'm always surprised that when people list the kinds of things they want in an environment, particularly urban environments, they're describing our towns and cities in the Twin County area. But how do we get those same great job opportunities in those wonderful places is a challenge that we all have. I hope I've given you just a little bit of an overview, and of course we're totally willing to provide whatever detail you need at whatever level, but maybe some thought that can go forward, and we can certainly work with you and provide anything you want. And I know Bill's got a great tour lined up for you to talk about what he's doing for our industries going forward, but I want to thank you very much for the honor to be here today. Thank you.
Well, good morning. I'm Bob Geolas, the President and CEO of the Research Triangle Foundation, which is responsible for the oversight of the Research Triangle Park. Let's see if I can get this down a little bit. There we go. And I can't tell you how great it is to be here this morning. I grew up in eastern North Carolina, so this is a little bit like being back home for me. Mr. President, thank you for letting us visit with you today. You know, there's a reason why we decided to visit with community colleges. The reason is because we felt that as we traveled the state, the community colleges are where most of the real economic development work is happening these days. A lot of the work with your local governments, a lot of the work with economic development partners, obviously the work of training that you're doing here, These are the critical elements that we feel like are making a big difference in North Carolina right now. So for us, it was real important. And already just a little glimpse of what we've gotten a chance to hear today reinforces the decision we made to visit with community colleges. Mr. Mayor, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity and the welcome you extended to our team to be here today. We're looking forward to traveling across the East, and we're very glad to be able to start here in your community. We plan to visit with a lot of great people, eat a lot of good barbecue, and have a good time. So why are we doing this? Why are we traveling across the state like this? Why are we doing this trip? What is it that's going on in Research Triangle Park that we think is something we're sharing with you? Well, you know, if you go back 50 years when Research Triangle Park was founded, we put in place, Mr. Mayor, we put in place a really strong mission statement for what the park was all about. We talked 50 years ago about a place that would support our universities, which means support our education system. We didn't have a community college system yet, Mr. President, but we soon did after that. And for 50 years, we've worked well with universities, reaching out and supporting community colleges, champions of K through 12 education. These have been things that have been very important to us for 50 years. The second thing our mission statement said is that we should be all about creating jobs and opportunity. And we like to look at the Research Triangle Park and the success we've had, and we do feel, we know, as just a matter of fact, that we've created a lot of jobs in North Carolina. Over 50,000 people work in the park today, and you know, it doesn't take much in terms of the economic statistics to look at the whole region. We now talk about how we really have shaped what the whole region is known as today. It's not just Research Triangle Park, it's the Research Triangle region. So we're very proud that we've had that role. The third thing, and I think this is the most profound part of our mission statement, it says that our job is to improve the quality of life for all the people of North Carolina. You think about that 50 years ago, to be given as a part of what you get up and think about every day, that's a part of your mission statement. We look back over the 50 years of Research Triangle Park, and we can look at how our state has grown and how it's improved, and we are proud to have played a role in that. You know, 50 years ago, North Carolina faced a lot of challenges. We're talking about the economic challenges we face today. They were nothing like what we faced 50 years ago. North Carolina was 49th out of the 50 states. Most people don't remember that fact. We didn't have any natural resources. We weren't well positioned to take advantage of any of the science and technology advances after the Second World War. We were a state largely lumped in with the rest of the South as a place that would struggle. But you know, we made a decision. We made a decision among business leaders and university leaders. We made a decision as a people that we were going to shape our own destiny. And whatever challenges that we had to face, we were going to find a way to take those on and do them. And the great thing about the way we did that was that we not just made a decision that we were going to take that on, but we were going to do it big. We made a decision back then to do something bigger and bolder than anyone else in the country had ever done before. The announcement of Research Triangle Park at its time was the largest economic development initiative anywhere in the country, to announce that we would be the largest research park in the world. We obviously connected ourselves with 3 good universities, Duke, NC State, UNC, that become 3 great universities. But we did something that was enormously bold and innovative. And it took all the people of North Carolina to make that happen. I've been traveling around the state for the last week, and I remind people that the land that was used that became the Research Triangle Park was purchased because of private donations given by private individuals, private companies, to buy that land. So we very much feel connected and we feel obligated to the people of North Carolina, and we have for 50 years. So where are we today, and why then does this tour become so important? Well, because we've started looking at Research Triangle Park, and we've said, okay, we've had a great run for 50 years. We need to make sure that that run continues. We need to make sure that all the investments, that all of the work that we've done continues to move not just our park forward and our region forward, but moves our whole state forward. So how do we do that? Well, we've laid out 3 goals for that. The first is redevelopment. We're redeveloping RTP. This is the part where we're going to go in and look at the 7,000 acres that make up Research Triangle Park, and we're going to add in all those kinds of amenities and services, and the new density and urbanization that we know not just will make us more competitive, but will help the companies that are already in the park stay and continue to grow and expand. That's very important. We know that it will provide a new environment for entrepreneurism, startups, that it will be the kind of environment and the kind of place that will make sure that companies from around the world continue to look at RTP as a leadership. So that's an important part of that. And we've identified 4 goals under redevelopment that we want to achieve. We want to make RTP much more collaborative so that the companies that are within the park, whether it be large corporate companies or small companies, all can get connected more and do more together and speed up innovation and help move ideas from the laboratory to the marketplace, create more jobs more rapidly. We believe that RTP tells the whole North Carolina story, but it's often missed when you visit the park. I'm not sure when the last time you drove through the park, but as you know, it's a beautiful park, but you don't see very much. You don't get any sense of the great stories. So we want to make sure that the park is very inspiring. And we have places within the park that tell the story of the people, and the young people, the students, the researchers, the scientists, the technologies, the innovation that have come out of all of the things that have happened at RTP, and how that's impacted our state and our country. We want to make sure that the park represents the best of North Carolina. So we want it to be a very authentic environment. We want the design and the look and the feel to speak to the future of North Carolina, and also to be a place that as we travel around the world and we market RTP and our region, people will immediately recognize it as a place, as a great destination, a place with a certain feel and identity. And so, you know, these are the goals and the objectives that we're laying out for the redevelopment of the park. But it's also important to us that we reconnect the park as well. We're not just looking at reconnecting with the companies in the park, which we've been doing. We have 170 companies. Our team has been meeting with all of those companies, getting to know what do they want to do with what they're doing there. Can we help them grow? Can we help them expand? If they're not already working with our universities or other regions of the state, how can we help them do that? So we're reconnecting them. We're reconnecting them within our region and with our universities. But this tour itself is a part of that reconnection. Because again, the Research Triangle Park is your park. It's the people's park of North Carolina. So we wanted to make sure that we took some time to travel the state and not just share with you what we're doing, but listening to what you're doing. Each one of you talked about partnership. We're here to be partners. We have new challenges today. Not like the challenges of 50 years ago, but we're in a better position today to deal with them. But what can we do together? You talk about what's going on in your communities here. I hear the same issues as we travel across the West. People are thinking about how do we make sure that we continue to bring in new jobs, and we continue to innovate, and we have places for entrepreneurs and startups. How do we make sure that our communities are among the communities that can compete with the rest of the world? Well, we're not here with all the answers today. We don't know the answer to that. But we know this: if we start the conversation and we listen to each other, maybe there are ways we can find the answers. I know that we can. We've already gotten a lot of good ideas as we travel across the state. And we've created a way in which, as we make these visits, that folks can not just reconnect with us, but help us reimagine not just the future of Research Triangle Park, but the future of our state. So we've created a website called reimaginenc.com. And I hope, before the end of the day, you'll take a moment, go to that site and connect with us. I made a mistake the other day, and I asked everybody to pull out their phone, you know, and go to that site, and then everybody just checked their emails. And I lost everybody for a few minutes. So I'm not going to ask you to do that right now, but I would like you to do that. I want you to get out your phones later today, or when you get back to your desktop. Go to reimaginenc.com. Go to the site and connect with us. Tell us your story. Tell us your thoughts about North Carolina, about its future. Maybe you have thoughts about Research Triangle Park. You know, one of the comments we heard was, well, we're glad to have you in our community. We're glad RTP's getting out. But don't you really compete with us? Don't you really, doesn't RTP sort of compete? Isn't there a risk you're going to take jobs away from us? Look, honestly, sometimes we will compete. Sometimes there will be jobs or opportunities that come up that just by nature, they're going to look to a couple of different areas and we're going to be in competition. The real question is not how do we compete with each other. The question really is how do we support each other? How do we partner with each other? How do we complement each other? RTP can only be successful if the whole state is successful. We need to find ways to lift up and support opportunities across North Carolina. And again, we don't come with the answers on how to do that. What we'd like to do is have the conversation and figure that out. But we need to find ways, among all of us, to think of ways in which we can support more entrepreneurs and startups in local communities across North Carolina. What can we do as we go out and market the world to talk about the whole state? Because you know what, sometimes those R&D jobs don't need to be at RTP. They need to be at other parts of North Carolina. Certainly manufacturing jobs, with the work that's going on at our community colleges within advanced manufacturing, it's a great opportunity. Maybe there are things that we're learning at RTP that we can share with you about what we know the world is looking for in terms of lifestyle and community issues. And maybe there are ways in which we can open up a conversation. Maybe we can use this new Reimagine NC as an online conversation that we can have to help support each other. What are some things we can do to make sure that your communities are making the kinds of investments that will help you be more competitive? So we're redeveloping the park, we're out reconnecting, and together we need to reimagine. We need to imagine what we can do as a region, as a state, because here's what you need to know at the end of the day. RTP is your park, was created by the people of North Carolina, for the people of North Carolina. Together, we've done some great things for North Carolina. And together, we can continue to do great things. So I want to thank you all so much for the chance to be here today, to bring our team from RTP here to visit with you. I'd be glad to take any questions or comments that anyone may have. And then I know we have a student over here, teacher, I guess now, faculty member here, who's going to share with us thoughts and give us a tour. But if there's any thoughts or comments that you have, I'd be glad to listen and answer any questions anyone may have. Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
After you do your tour,
Yes, sir.
condense everything down into any kind of paper or something that you can share.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been obviously keeping notes as we travel along. We've been writing blogs as we go along. What we're going to do after the tour is done, our team's going to get together. We're going to prepare our thoughts, and we're going to put those on that Reimagine NC website. We'll also be looking for ways to communicate out in other ways, op-eds, other things, to get the word out and to continue the conversation. Again, we want this to be the beginning of a long-term conversation and relationship. We're not just making this visit and we'll come back and see you in another 50 years. So this is the beginning of that, Mr. Mayor. And so we'll share all that information, and then what we'd like is to start getting reactions to it. What we need to make sure we do is as we collect all this information, let's start thinking again, what's the next big investment that we can do together to help the whole state? We've been thinking about that as we travel along. And I was in Asheville last week, and Asheville's one of those communities that everybody was very polite, very nice, but I thought they were going to say, well, RTP's sort of irrelevant to us. In fact, they said, RTP's our connection to the world. We need RTP to be successful. We want to be a part of whatever your next big idea is. And they left me with this. They said, please just don't think small. Please don't think small. And what we thought about when we think about whatever this next big idea is, we said, well, it's got to do three things. It needs to connect to education, because RTP's always been about how we link education and business. We have to connect to our universities, our community colleges, and our K-12 system. Absolutely have to do that. it has to be about, it has to be big enough that it captures the world's attention. Because you know, RTP is a national economic treasure. We're one of those places the country looks to innovate, create, to grow our economy. So we need something that really stands up on a global stage. And the third, and probably the one that's closest to me, is that it needs to lift up all the people of North Carolina. We need to find a way to take the opportunities that we create, or have the opportunity to create at RTP, and how do we get that out to more communities and help them grow and be more successful here in North Carolina? That, at the end of the day, I think will be the most important part of whatever legacy we have as we have this opportunity to lead at this time. Other thoughts or comments? Yes, sir.
Oh, when you went through your existing 170 companies and asked them what they thought you should be doing in the future, what were a couple of things you heard from them?
Well, I'll tell you, the most telling thing I heard was that they still looked up to the power of our universities and our education system as the #1 reason they're here. It doesn't matter whether we're trying to recruit companies here or whether they've been here for 40 years. The #1 reason they're here, I think it's most important to them, is our universities, the research, and I gotta say community colleges, the worker training, the technical training work that goes on, education, education, education. It's the biggest thing we hear more than anything else. Because whether it's access to research, whether it's access to training, or whether it's access just to a talented workforce. Now, there are other things they talk about. Yeah, I mean, they want sandwich shops and coffee shops closer. You know, we don't have those no more. You know, they'd like there to be less traffic every day, those kinds of things. But I will tell you something. You know, you look at the places we're competing with around the world. We're not competing with, you know, Columbia, South Carolina. We're not competing with Jacksonville, Florida. We're not competing with Alabama. You know, we're competing with places in Boston and Silicon Valley, and we're competing with, you know, Austin, Texas to a certain extent. We're certainly competing with, you know, Asia and Europe. You know, we're competing at a different level. So, you know, and they all have issues with traffic and, you know, and all those things. So what is the factor for those companies to continue to stay and invest, and what is the factor that will continue to draw people in to do that? Well, again, more than any other reason, it's access to talent. Now, what can we do to help still tell the story of all the talent we have across North Carolina? Because we have tremendous talent, and tremendous universities, and tremendous community colleges. Those are great assets. So how do we bring all of that into what we sell to the world? I think we can, I think we should, I think we must. And I think at the end, we'll create a much more vibrant state as a result of that. That is our greatest competitive advantage. RTP special, you know, the land, all the resources of interstate highways and all that, those things are important. You've got to have, got to make those investments. But you can get those in a lot of places in the world. It's the people, it's the talent, and it's the access they have to a great education system that makes a difference. Other comments or questions? Well, listen, this has been a great pleasure. Thank you. We're going to hang around a little bit, and I know we're getting ready to take a tour, but thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Bob. I'm going to warm up the mic for our alumni guest, actually employee, who's going to give you a perspective. It didn't start out that way this year. He's going to tell you a little bit about his journey and how he got to where he ended up choosing Nash Community College. You know, Bob, when I was a kid, and we traded places. I'm a native of the Triangle, and you were a native of Eastern North Carolina, so we traded places. I have 3 stoplights to work. How many do you have? So I can tell you, Rocky Mount's a great, yeah, it's a great place to live. I don't miss the traffic at all. I certainly have some friends, and my mother and brother still live up there. But it was North Carolina when I was a kid growing up in Durham County. North Carolina seemed like a much larger place. Rocky Mount seemed like a faraway place at that time. Ladies and gentlemen, my first out-of-town drive with without my parents in the car was coming to Rocky Mountain. I didn't know that would be foreshadowing that I would end up here. I had to drop off my sister and a friend. They were visiting. I forgot where I went to, but came down 98 and cut through the back way and all that. Father said, be careful. It's a very curvy road back in those days, if you remember 98 for those who drove it. But the triangle, it takes me back, and I can't help but think about the triangle and 7,000 bales of wheat straw when they were building I-40 that my father put me in charge of to deliver to DOT so they could see the banks when they were building I-40 through. So I spent one summer at 16 years old getting wheat straw part in person in North Durham County. Making that happen was my summer job. So when I tell people I spent a lot of time in the research triangle at 16 years old, they're mighty impressed. I tell them I had to deliver a bunch of wheat straw. But as we have traded places, and John, the lines have blurred. Certainly in our 12,000 students, not all of them are from Nash County. And Alex will probably tell you a little bit of his story. He doesn't reside in Nash County. We do consider him our product and what Nash Community College can do. And that innovation that happens at the community colleges. Alex would be considered, you see those stories about engineers in other countries and how many more engineers are studying in other countries. He would be considered an engineer in another country because they have 2-year engineering programs that they count towards that number. And whoever that quoted that study once upon a time that got convoluted that we're behind, I'm here to tell you we're not behind. Innovation exists not only in the Research Triangle, but right here in Nash County and Nash Community College, as we partner with many people. And the mayor, you talked about one of our big partners, the city, the school system, the hospital. We have over 240 partners from law enforcement agencies. We got the U.S. Marshal's office here tomorrow with a group that we have come in to learn from. So we have in and out of this facility in the last 11 years, we've had over 500,000 people use this building. And we're mighty proud of that. But more importantly, some of the innovation that's going on. And John, with the Eastern region, I don't know how many community colleges are part of the Department of Labor grant in your region, but the 2 community colleges that the mayor talked about, 2 of them are part of that 11-group consortium. And we're doing things with the Department of Labor, and Alex will tell you more about those particular things. But we were one of the first early colleges. There were 5 originals, and we were one of them. We used live streaming technology, and our chief information officer is here today. A live streaming technology. Nobody else in the state was using it when we used that technology, that we could connect with your office right now. 2-way live streaming. And we do lecture capture with that. EBS, which is a TV channel, it's a frequency that we own, through a consortium of 30 community colleges. We were the first community college to use that signal. We broadcasted classes out to the other parts of the county. And so those are things, and then early on with the transfer program, for those that don't know, students that come here and get our AS degree have automatic entry to the School of Engineering at NC State. Not every community college can say that. So we're proud of those relationships, and we have a similar relationship with East Carolina, and then we have 2+ residents. So education is alive and well in this region, as the mayor talked about. So I'm warming up the mic for one of our stars, and he's an award-winning student as he presented this summer at a competition of other colleges and came away as one of the winners. They had 6 winners out of that competition. Nash Community College won part of that competition. And he's going to tell you a little bit about that, his journey, and what it meant for him to come to Nash Community College. I don't think he always wanted to be a machining student and an engineer on the global sense, but he has worked at a high level of things that we have over there, robotics, PLCs and programming logic controllers and those things that make all of this stuff work that we're going to see on the tour. And ladies and gentlemen, it is not hyperbole. This mechatronics lab that has been set up, there are others around the state, but we're using it at a high level. And Alex, I expect you to brag about that a little bit when you come up. So there's no pressure. Just come up and brag about what you're doing over there, making me wow everybody. So that being said, we're mighty proud of Alex Barnhill, and we have other Alex Barnhills that are working in industry. John, you know Austin Corporation, the machinists that run their equipment over there, they were all trained at Nash Community College. They're just across the county line. But again, those lines are blurred. And those students that come in and out, the 12,000 students, over 12,000 students that come to our over 80 programs at Nash Community College, we welcome them all. And we feel it's the quality of instruction that gets them here. So hopefully you'll see a product of that instruction right here at Alex. Take it away. Thank you.
No pressure. You always like to hear that right before we get to talk. I'm going to share a little bit of my story. It's been my perspective on this story. This is not an uncommon story. There's a lot of problems that people face every day. Same situation I faced. Like I said, I'm a graduate. I'm now a computer integrated machining technology instructor. I'm a proud father of two. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old daughter. Just be said with that. Been married for 18 years. Anyway, I live right outside Salem. I do live in Wake County. I do drive here every day. I worked for over 20 years in the retail industry. One form or another, mainly in the hardware industry. And, I found myself a couple of times chasing that carrot. That money from, maybe I can go ahead and get this job and get a little bit more money, I can do a little bit better for my family. I was always trying to aspire to do better for my family. And that being said, the last stop led me to work at an auto body repair shop. Seems a little odd, but I had personal experience with some of that on the side. But however, 4 years ago, the economy caught up with the auto body industry, like it did most businesses in the time. A lot of people lost their jobs, and I found myself in a place I had never been, unemployed and no prospects in sight. I had never been in a situation where I left a job and didn't have another job waiting on me or another job to go to. But there again, like I said, it's not an uncommon experience. I, of course, followed normal protocol. I applied for many jobs to no avail. My wife, who had been a stay-at-home mother for over 10 years, decided to test the job market herself since I was having no luck. She applied. I think it was 2.5 weeks later. She had a job. So you have to sit down and do the math a little bit. What's the difference? Biggest difference is, and Dr. Carver like this, she has a bachelor's degree from North Carolina State University. Got her right in. So, a little insight, I realized where the difference was, education. So, after viewing my options, a little soul searching, I decided to come back to school. From where I live, and it's probably a lot more than this, but with over 20 schools to choose from within a 40-mile radius, I figured out a good radius to work with as far as being able to travel to go to school. And endless online opportunities. I had a lot of research cut out for me, and I did a lot of investigating. If you had the best program, you do a lot of Googled it, the verb now. And after seeking that out and talking to friends and people I grew up with, I decided to give Nash Community College a try. I visited Nash, and I'm a real people person. I like people. I like interaction between people. I found a group of people who were very kind, very helpful, and very student-oriented. Armed with that knowledge, I started my educational journey here at Nash. The difference being, my mother was a nurse, so she said, "You're going back to school, you need to try to, health care is always going to be there for you." So I applied, and I was accepted to the accredited physical therapy assistant program here at Nash. But, after a period of time, I realized it was not the best fit for me. So I had to go to plan B. However, didn't have to leave Nash to enact this plan. I only had to take a short walk across campus to find another accredited program. So after speaking to a machining instructor, seeing the investment made in the machining program, I chose to enroll. The decision being that with the returning industry on the rise and the need for a more skilled workforce, this turned out to be the best fit for me. And as we all know, the workforce is aging out, retiring out. There was a period of time in the 90s where it wasn't exactly the cool thing, where councils weren't pushing people toward the manufacturing industry. And with the help of instructors, I thrived. I found much success in the machining program, as others have also. Now, I am a graduate of Nash Community College, but maybe the best part of this is I found my pathway to my future here as an instructor. The best part of that is in this role, I'm able to help people who are in the same position I was in just a short time ago. Laid off and needed retraining to meet the needs of today's industry. The best part of that is Nash Community College does that by having the equipment, by the mechatronics lab that Dr. Carver just pointed out. This actually helps simulate real-world experiences. The students are actually able to get into the lab, do work, and see problems. As you'll see when we get over there, the teachers can actually make it go bad. They can actually create a fault. So the student has to figure out what the problem is. The student doesn't just show up on the job and go, well, I learned how to do this, and show me how this works. They can actually go, oh, well, this might be this problem. They can actually get in that thinking process of how it might need to be fixed. We also have apprenticeships in place with the industry partners. This shows a direct correlation between the work that's been done and the need for workers, that the industry is actually willing to reach out and do that. But these are just a few examples of efforts put forth by the Nash Community College Board, Nash Community College President Dr. Carver, and the faculty and staff to present the best programs available. And because of these efforts, every student is afforded the opportunity to succeed. And I am proud I chose Nash. And that being said, kind of following on what we're going on with, there's pathway to success all over this campus. A student makes that effort to come in, it's the first pathway in. So many programs to go across in a campus, so many to choose from, just like me. It wasn't necessarily the best fit, but I found what worked for me. And the important pathway is when they leave, after they graduate. It takes them straight to successful opportunities. So hopefully everybody has a wonderful experience like I have here. I'm definitely been changed and branded Nash Community College for life.